They say every quiet neighborhood hides a secret, but I never imagined that the sweetest old lady on my street, the one who baked cookies for kids and smiled at everyone, was hiding something that would make my blood run cold. When I moved to Willow Creek, Oregon, everything looked peaceful. Clean driveways, white fences, laughter echoing across lawns, a neighborhood where nothing bad could ever happen. Or so I thought. My name's Daniel Reed, 32, newly divorced, trying to start over. The house I bought was smaller than I'd hoped, but it had one thing that mattered: peace. At least that's what I believed before I met my next-door neighbor. Her name was Mrs. Eleanor Hargrove, a soft-spoken widow in her late 70s. She had silver hair always tied in a neat bun and wore pastel dresses that made her look like she'd stepped out of a 1950s photograph. Every morning she'd water her tulips and feed the birds, humming softly. The first time we met, she brought over a plate of chocolate chip cookies. "You must be Daniel," she said kindly. "Welcome to the neighborhood." Her voice was warm, but her eyes, something about them didn't match the smile. I brushed the thought aside. Maybe I was overthinking. A few nights later, I was unpacking boxes when I heard a sound, faint but distinct. A thud, followed by what sounded like whispering. It came from her house. At first, I ignored it. Maybe she dropped something, maybe the TV was on, but over the next week the noises returned, always after midnight. Sometimes it was a dull hammering sound. Sometimes a muffled cry. I told myself old houses make noise, but deep down, something felt wrong. One morning, while heading to my car, I noticed her curtains twitch. She was staring at me. When I waved, she quickly pulled them shut. Days turned into weeks. The noises grew louder. And then one night, I saw something I couldn't explain. Her kitchen light flicked on and off 3 times. Then silence. Then, a shadow moved across the window. Slow, deliberate, like someone was dragging something heavy. I stood frozen. My instincts screamed to look away, but I couldn't. The next day, I knocked on her door. She opened it almost instantly, smiling like she'd been waiting. "Oh, Daniel, you startled me," she said. "Would you like some tea?" Her living room looked like a museum, every picture perfectly. Aligned, lace curtains spotless, and a faint scent of lavender and old wood in the air. We sat down. She told me about her husband, Henry, who had passed peacefully in his sleep 15 years ago. "I still talk to him sometimes," she chuckled softly. "It helps me not feel so lonely." I smiled politely, but something about the way her eyes flicked toward the hallway made my stomach tighten. While helping her bring in groceries later that week, I noticed a wooden door near the back, old, cracked, secured with 3 locks. "What's in there?" I asked casually. Her face changed instantly. The warmth drained away. "That's just the basement," she said firmly. "Old houses need extra locks. For safety." Her tone said end of discussion, but my curiosity was alive now, and curiosity is a dangerous thing in quiet towns. That night, I sat on my porch, watching her house. The lights went out around 10 p.m. like usual. But at 12:17, a faint yellow glow appeared in her back window. Then, a shadow moved again. I grabbed my phone, zoomed in, and froze. She was standing by the basement door talking to someone, but there was no one else there. Her lips moved, slowly like she was whispering to a person just out of sight. Then she looked up, directly at my window, and smiled. My heart skipped. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was stress, imagination, maybe loneliness. But then came the second sound, the one that made me call the police later. A low thumping from the ground, like something or someone trying to get out. I leaned against the fence, trying to hear. The sound stopped. Then, faintly, I heard her voice through the open window. "Hush now, Henry. You're safe down there." "You're home." I dropped the cup I was holding. It shattered on the pavement. That's when I realized I wasn't living next to a sweet old widow. I was living next to a secret she had buried for years, and I had no idea that soon I'd be the one she'd invite into the basement. After that night, I couldn't sleep. The echo of her voice, "Hush now, Henry, you're safe down there," wouldn't leave my head. I told myself I needed proof before jumping to conclusions. So the next morning I set up one of my old security cameras facing her backyard. Just for peace of mind, I thought. But peace was the last thing I found. That evening, the camera caught movement, around midnight. Mrs. Hargrove, wearing a long nightgown, dragging a large black bag toward the shed. She opened the padlock, disappeared inside for nearly 10 minutes, and came out wiping her hands with a towel. My chest tightened. I zoomed in on the footage and saw the faint outline of something human-shaped inside that bag. The next day, I went to her house pretending to return her mail. Her smile was there again, too perfect, too rehearsed. But her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the letters. "Are you feeling all right, Mrs. Hargrove?" I asked carefully. "Oh, yes," she replied with a tight smile. "Just been cleaning the basement. So much dust." There it was again. The basement. Behind her, I caught a glimpse of the hallway, the same door with 3 locks. This time, one was open. Something deep inside me screamed to leave, but curiosity pushed harder. "Would you like some help?" I asked. I'm pretty handy with old doors. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, the warmth vanished completely. "No, dear," she said softly. "Some doors are better kept shut." Then she closed the door in my face. That night, I reviewed the footage again. Same time, same glow from her window. But this time, the audio picked up something new. A voice. Faint, weak, but undeniably real. It whispered, "Help me." My blood ran cold. The next morning, I went to the police. Officer Palmer, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, listened quietly as I showed him the footage. He frowned. "You're saying your 70-something neighbor has someone locked in her basement?" "I'm not saying it. The evidence is." He sighed. "We'll do a welfare check, Mr. Reed. But if she's harmless, this could look like harassment. You sure you want to proceed?" "Yes," I said. "I'm sure." That night, I waited. 2 police cruisers arrived around 9 p.m., their headlights cutting through the mist. I watched from my porch as Mrs. Hargrove answered the door, calm as ever. They talked for several minutes. She even laughed once, as if the whole thing was a misunderstanding. Then the officers left. Just like that. She turned her head toward my house and smiled in the dark. A long, knowing smile. My stomach dropped. An hour later, a knock echoed through my door. I froze. It was her. "Daniel," she said sweetly. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding. You really shouldn't worry so much." I didn't open the door. "I heard someone calling for help, Mrs. Hargrove." Her tone hardened. "Imagination is a tricky thing, dear. You should rest. You've been under stress." Her footsteps faded away, but I couldn't shake the feeling she wasn't gone. The next morning, I woke to find something strange on my porch. A freshly baked pie, and a note. "For my dear neighbor, Daniel, thank you for caring." But the pie was cold, like it had been sitting out all night. That day, I decided to end it. If the police wouldn't help, I'd find the truth myself. At midnight, I slipped into her yard. The air was heavy with the scent of damp soil and old flowers. The back door was locked, but the small window beside it wasn't. I crawled through quietly, landing in her kitchen. It was spotless, as always. Except for one thing. The basement door was open. A faint, yellow light flickered from below. My hands shook as I descended the stairs. Each creak sounded like thunder in the silence. The basement smelled of bleach and old wood. Then, at the far end, I saw it. A large wooden chest. Its lid slightly ajar. "Mrs. Hargrove," I whispered. Silence. I stepped closer. Inside the chest were photographs, hundreds of them, all of the same man, smiling, gardening, painting, her husband, Henry. Except in the last few photos, his face was pale, eyes empty, lying in that very basement. My stomach twisted, and then I heard breathing. Slow, steady, behind me. "Why are you down here, Daniel?" Her voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. I turned. She stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding a small knife. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. "You'll disturb him." "Who?" I asked, backing away. "Henry," she said softly. "He doesn't like visitors." I glanced at the floor, saw a faint outline beneath the concrete, a square patch darker than the rest. My heart raced. "You buried him here." Her eyes filled with tears, but not sadness. Obsession. "He never left me," she murmured. "He promised he wouldn't." She took a step closer, and another. I bolted up the stairs, slammed the door, and ran outside. When I looked back, she was standing at the window, expressionless, staring into the night. The next morning, the police returned. This time, they came with a warrant. They dug up the basement floor. What they found silenced the entire neighborhood. Henry Hargrove, missing 15 years. His remains buried beneath the basement tiles. And 3 other sets of remains no one could identify. Mrs. Hargrove was taken away quietly, smiling the whole time. When reporters asked why she did it, she said softly, "I only wanted company." Weeks passed. The house stood empty, windows boarded, grass growing wild. But some nights, I still hear faint humming from next door, a lullaby. And when the wind blows just right, I swear I can hear her voice again, whispering, "Good night, Henry."